Good evening. I'm so glad to be here. So my name is Sai Krishna and I'm coming from Denver. I'm so jealous of you guys because you get to enjoy this beautiful weather. We cannot go out without coats outside because in Denver it's snow most of the times. It's very cold. And so I came here and people were saying, brother, for the last 2 or 3 days we had, our weather is very cold. I looked outside and see, is it what you call cold? So I'm really glad and thank you so much for coming. All right. They told me that actually I have like 3 hours of time for this message. Is that right? I don't want to stand between you and biryani. All right. So, I came here to share a story. How many of you like stories? Right. So the difference in this story is it is a true story. How many of you like true stories? True stories means stories that happened, right? So it's my story, by the way. So when I say my story, it's not. I'm not sharing this because I'm a great man or the story is extraordinary, but I'm sharing my story because I'm an ordinary man, and it's an ordinary story, but something extraordinary happened within this ordinary story. So I would like to share this, but I don't know where to begin. But let me start with this. A Sardarji, right? A Sardarji wanted to board a train, so he came late. He went to the railway station, but he went late, like Indians do, right? So he was able to catch hold of only the last bogie because the train was already starting by the time he went to the railway station. So he caught the last bogie, but he was very thirsty. So he wanted to drink water. So every time when a station comes, he get to the platform and try to go to the middle of the platform where you normally find the water fountains are in India, right? So by the time he reaches there, the train again starts, and then he catches hold of the last bogie again. So it happened like 3 or 4 times, and he got frustrated. So when the next station came, he went straight into the station, and then he called the station master and he asked him, I want to clean up the railway system in India today. I want to clean up the railway system. You guys don't know how to organize this. I know it, and today I'm going to do it. And the station master was like, he was terrified and he was petrified, and he looked at him and he said, hey, sir, sorry for the inconvenience, is there something that we could do for you? He said, no, you cannot do anything for me. The whole system needs to get changed, and I'm going to do it today. So finally, he got the complaint paper, and he started writing the complaints. The first complaint is this: no train should have the last bogie. And the second complaint is this: even if it has the last bogie, it should be in the middle of the train. Well, folks, it may sound very funny, but when it comes to life, unfortunately, we tend to think the same way. We don't let life speak to us, but we try to see the life in the way that we perceive, right? It was April 8th, 1994. An electrician accidentally found a dead body in an apartment in Los Angeles, I believe. Later they found out that it was the body of a very great singer and a musician called Kurt Cobain. How many of you heard about it? Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain was one of the lead singers of a troupe called Nirvana. And his album, Nevermind, was sold 10 million copies, replacing Michael Jackson from the top of this chart. Now, Kurt Cobain was a very successful man. And he had money, he had fame, he had success, everything he had. He converted to Buddhism. And in Buddhism, actually, I don't know if you know this name, Nirvana. The name Nirvana means don't bother yourself. Don't bother yourself. There is nothing out there. There is no one to give the meaning to the life. Don't bother yourself. There is no meaning to the life, and that's why don't bother yourself. That's what called nirvana. Taking an exit route into nothingness, taking an exit route into extinguish yourself into nothingness. But you know what? It doesn't work that way. Every man has a deep passion. Man wants to know the meaning and purpose of life. And when Cobain wanted to imbibe, when Cobain wanted to approach or apply this particular nirvana philosophy to his life, it didn't work. The poor, sensitive soul could not handle it because we need the purpose, we need the meaning of life. When he couldn't handle it, he took his shotgun, blew his head off into a million pieces. Now the reason why I shared is because we tend to think many times that I'll take it light, that's okay. I don't need to think of, meaning of life, purpose of life, that's a philosopher's question, that's not my question. But let me tell you, he's an ordinary man, but with a great success. And I was like, I grew up in a Brahmin house, and I thought actually there is no meaning to life either. Not because of what Brahminism teaches me, but because I thought that, hey, life means enjoyment. And after some time, I did this one. I thought that the purpose of life or the meaning of life is to study well and to get settled. To get a job in a very good company. To climb the ladder in a company and go to the top of the company. So I was a good student. I was studying very, very well. But then I got introduced to entertainment. I was constantly searching for something that satisfies me. And many of my friends told that, hey, movies, girls, or something else. Started trying different things in my life. And you don't believe when I say this, at one point of time, I was watching a movie like 9 times. And sometimes it was like one after the other. I go to the morning show, come out, and then again go to the matinee. Try to retain that satisfaction, retain that entertainment. And one of my friends recently called me, it was 2013 January. He gave me a call from one of the Scandinavian countries. He's a very, very brilliant guy, very successful man. He's working for IBM as a software engineer, and he is the best programmer that I have ever known. This guy is sharp. This guy is sharp like razor. And he called me and he said, Sai, I watched all possible movies that I can find on YouTube. I watched movies on Netflix. I was trying actually to entertain myself to keep the satisfaction, but you know what? I'm not able to find it. Is there something that you could suggest me? Is there something that you could suggest me? When I thought that when you get the success in your life, when you succeed very well in your life, study well, get a seat in IIT or something, you would do very well. When I thought that, one particular person came to my mind. I was a 17-year-old guy, and I heard about this particular person, and he was my favorite tennis star, Boris Becker. How many of you heard his name? Becker. Becker won Wimbledon when he was 17, and he was a very successful tennis player. After he won the title, an interviewer went to him and interviewed him, and this is what Becker said. This is exactly the quote he used, quote unquote. I had won Wimbledon twice before. Once as the youngest player, I was rich. I had all the material possessions I needed. Money, cars, women, everything. I know that this is a cliche. It is the old song of the movie and pop stars who commit suicide. They have everything and yet they are so unhappy. They have everything but they are so unhappy. I had no inner peace. I was a puppet on a string. I had no inner peace. I was a puppet on a string. And guess from whose mouth it is coming? Boris Becker, one of the most successful tennis players that we have ever seen. And a highly successful thriller writer, Jack Higgins, he once said this: when you get to the top, there is nothing. When you get to the top, there is nothing. In my life, my perception or the meaning I gave, like the Sardarji tried to find meaning by himself. I was trying to find meaning by myself. I tried to give meaning to my life. And what is the meaning? Take it light. But you know what? When Kurt Cobain took it light, it led him in a disastrous way. And then I thought, I have to give some meaning to my life. Okay, let me get to the top. Get good education, go do very well in life, and I think that would be the ultimate meaning and purpose of life. I'm not saying that you should not do well, or you should not get a good job, you should not study well. That's not the point. But what my point is, if you think that gives the meaning to your life, or if I think that gives the meaning to my life, then Jack Higgins is saying this. Very successful thriller writer. When you get to the top, there is nothing. When you get to the top, there is nothing. Then what gives purpose to human life? Kurt Cobain, the successful man. My friend who works for IBM, is a very sharp guy. Trying to find satisfaction, contentment. Boris Becker, he claimed that he had no inner peace. Jack Higgins, he said, when you get to the top, there is nothing out there. Is this a human life? I was very frustrated as a 17-year-old guy. I thought there is nothing out there. I thought life is unbearable. I was constantly running after something, but I didn't know at that time what I was running after. I was trying to find satisfaction, but I didn't know what it was. I, like Kurt Cobain, wanted to end my life when I was 17. That's when I heard one statement that changed my life. And this is the extraordinary part of my story. And that statement came from a French mathematician and a philosopher called Blaise Pascal. I'm eternally indebted to this man. He said something that set the course of my life in a different direction. Blaise Pascal. He said this: every man has a God-shaped vacuum in him. Every man has a God-shaped vacuum in him. Man wants to fill that vacuum with different things. Guess what is the shape of the vacuum, I said? God-shaped vacuum. If you take a rectangular vacuum, only a rectangle fits in that, right? Perfectly. If you take a square vacuum, only a square fits in that one. If you take a circle vacuum, only a circle fits inside that circular space, right? But this, Pascal says, God-shaped vacuum. And that's why Pascal comes to the conclusion that this God-shaped vacuum can be filled only when it is filled with God himself. Is Pascal right on that one? I think yes. Because C.S. Lewis, a brilliant thinker, he was a professor in Oxford and Cambridge universities, a brilliant thinker of the 20th century. He said, human life is the most precious life because human life is not made for this earth. God himself cherished, God himself loved human beings and made out of the love. As a young Brahmin, I learned this thing, my mother and my father taught me this one, that I am here because my soul committed a sin there with the eternal soul. And that's why I was sent back to the earth. And this earth is a kind of prison for me where I get refined. And I am under the karmic philosophy. You heard the term karma, right? Karma is a principle like, if you do well, then you will be rewarded. If you don't do well, then you will be punished. So you are under the karmic cycle constantly. That's what my mom told me. And if you do well at the end, then you would go to a higher transition, higher janma, higher life. and ultimately you would go and join with the Brahman. So human life for me, growing up as a Hindu was I became a human being because I'm here for refinement. I'm here in a prison. But when I heard a statement from Blaise Pascal, it changed my perspective. My perspective is God did not create human beings to put them in the prison, but God created human beings because He loved them. God loves us so much. He gave this ultimate thing to human beings that only God wants to have a relationship. And the creator of the universe wanted to have relation with the creation. A worm, nothing in the creation. And that's the human privilege. Now the question was this. If God loved us so much, if God really liked human beings and created human beings that way, why the struggle? I couldn't perceive as a 17-year-old guy. I was like, if God loved me so much, guys, you guys are saying that God loved me so much, right? So if God loved me, then why this struggle? Why this pain? I had to go back to, again, the ancient Hindu scriptures that my ancestors wrote. And this is the stanza that day in and day out, every morning I prayed. Every morning I prayed this one. Papoham, papa karmaham, papatma, papa sambhavat. Trahimam krupaya deva saranagata vatsalam, anyada saranam nastitvam eva tasmat karunya bhava raksha raksha matsvaram. You all understood this well, right? So I'm going to translate this for you. This is a beautiful prayer. Beautiful and beautiful prayer written by the ancient Hindu seers. They said this, Papoham, I am sinful. Papa karmaham, my deeds are sinful. Papatma, I am one with sin. Papatma, papa sambhavat, I am born in sin. In other words, ancient Hindu seers, they recognized sin as separating man from God, separating creation from the Creator. When I saw this one, I was stunned. God loved us so much. God created us out of love. But the problem, we are not able to enjoy God, or we are not able to have this connection with God because sin is what separates us from God. That's when I heard, as a 17-year-old boy, that's when I heard the statement about Jesus Christ. Jesus came to take away as a lamb of God, to take away the sin of all mankind, so that mankind will no longer need to struggle separation from God, no longer need to entertain this dissatisfaction all the time in their life, but they can have a meaningful relationship with the Creator Himself. But the question was, I was not willing to believe that, because how could I was born as a Hindu. I was born in a Brahmin family, and occasionally I was a priest in some of the temples in a city called Tenali. How can I accept this foreign God, this God from the West? How can I accept Him? And it was like, maybe everything they're telling is a made-up story. I recently was talking to one of my co-workers, and he said that Christianity is a make-believe religion. So it's all wrong. It's all a lie. So exactly, I thought in the same way when I was a 17-year-old boy. And then for 1 year, I researched on Jesus Christ. Are their claims real? Is Jesus real? This is what I have found, and this is what I want to tell you. I found Him very unique in 4 ways. I'm going to tell you the 4 ways this evening. His birth was unique, first of all. He didn't appear out of the blue. And people all of a sudden started realizing, oh, God came. No. He was foretold by the prophets. Prophets told that mankind, when Buddha was praying this prayer, Buddha in in like 5th or 6th century BC, when he was praying this prayer, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. You heard it, right? As in Asatoma Sadgamaya. The meaning of it is this. Asatoma Sadgamaya. I am the untruth. Lead me to the truth. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Tamasam means actually it's of darkness. I am the darkness. Lead me to the light. Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. I am the death. Lead me to the life. I need life because without this I cannot survive. I need the light. I need the truth. I need the life. This was the ancient Hindu prayer again, used by Buddha. And when Buddha was praying this prayer, there was a man called Isaiah. He was prophesying about Jesus Christ, at least 700 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. Can I have that verse on the screen? Look here. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. This was the prophecy given about Jesus Christ, and if you see in Isaiah 7, I don't know if you have it on the slide, but that's fine. Isaiah, a couple of chapters before, he gave a specific prophecy about Jesus Christ that talks about a virgin shall conceive and she will give birth to a baby, and that baby's name is called Emmanuel. The word Emmanuel in Hebrew means God is with us. God is with us. When we see the human beings, we see an eternal separation from God. Because of the sins, our sins are separating us from God. So for God to have a meaningful relationship with human beings, for God to have the purpose of human life fulfilled, he needs to come as a human being. And Isaiah was just talking about that. And the punchline of the story is this. There were about 300 to 350 prophecies about Jesus Christ. Peter Stoner, in 1954, he wrote a book called Science Speaks, and it was published by Moody Press in 1954 at Chicago. You can find the book anywhere. And in that one, he claimed that there were 300 to 350 prophecies, and he was a mathematician by himself, Peter W. Stoner, by the way. And he said, out of these 300 to 350 prophecies, any 8 prophecies, by the way, you understand when I say prophecy, right? Prophecy means something that was foretold by somebody. Like, for example, 700 years before the birth of Christ, Isaiah spoke this particular prophecy. We call it as a prophecy because he was talking about something that's going to happen in the future. And there were about 300 to 350 prophecies. Peter Stoner says that one. And out of that, any 8 prophecies that they have taken, just 8 out of 300 to 350. Any 8 prophecies to be fulfilled in one man. Any 8 prophecies to be fulfilled in one man. The probability is 1 in 10 to the power of 28. If you don't understand, if you're not a mathematician, don't bother yourself. I'm going to simplify it for you. If you take silver coins, 10 to the power, have like 27 zeros beside 10, or have 28 zeros beside 1, and take that many silver coins, and then spread them all over Texas, and blindfold one person, and ask him to take a coin, and the coin is like what you are expecting. Like, say for example, your picture is there on that. Only one coin out of those many coins has your picture on that. And the blindfolded person walking all over Texas and picking that one particular coin, the probability. How probable is that, by the way? 0. Any 8 prophecies out of 300 to 350 prophecies about Jesus Christ, the probability of them being fulfilled in one single person is 1 in 10 to the power of 28. And add another 8, and the prophecy is 1 by 10 to the power of 45. For any 48 prophecies to be fulfilled in one single man is 1 by 10 to the power of 257. Can you imagine that number? have 257 zeros beside 1. For any 48 prophecies out of this 300 to 350 to be fulfilled in one person is 1 by 10 to the power of 357. And this is coming from a brilliant mathematician, a professor in mathematics. You know, why did I mention this? When God is doing something for humanity, He's not playing an Ice Boy. Indians know what I'm talking about. You played the game Ice Boy, right? How many of you know this game?
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek, okay. So hide and seek is a good term. We used to call it as ding dong. So hide and seek is, God doesn't play hide and seek. Like, you know, he doesn't say, hey, I will do something, but I'll not tell anything to you guys, and you guys have to figure out. No. God, when He did something to reach out to the humanity, He did in a unique way that there won't be any ambiguity. He did in a unique way that there won't be any ambiguity. When He sent Jesus Christ, the prophecies of like Jesus being any single person is almost nil. Is almost nil. His birth was unique. That's what I said, right? His birth was unique because a virgin shall conceive, and she'll give birth to a son, and his name is called Emmanuel. He is unique in his birth. He is unique in his living because he was the only one challenged. Even in front of his enemies, he challenged, "Can any of you establish sin in me?" And no one could do that. He was a sinless man. He was a sinless man, and one of the songs that they sang, it was like Papa Rahitundu, means the one without sin. He committed no sin whatsoever. His life was picture perfect. And there was a famous cricketer. His name is Navjot Singh Sidhu. He was known for hitting sixers. I was listening to his commentary, and I like his commentary very much because he uses a lot of anecdotes in his commentary. And he once said, his fellow commentator said he was a perfect batsman. And to that, Navjot Singh Sidhu replied this way: "There was no one perfect except the last man died on the cross. There was no one perfect except the last man died on the cross." No perfection whatsoever in anyone. You take anyone and you would see only Jesus Christ in his entire life, committed no sin, lived without sin, and even in Arabic, Quran calls him as the holy prophet. The term was